bars in a rave. Man, I go hard like Santan.
Hello and welcome to another Touchline Gunners podcast. It's your boy Dankoogs on hosting duty again, and I'm joined by my good friend YG Khalil. How you doing, my man?
Could be better, could be worse. You know, we spent 48 hours basking in the limelight of a 5-1 to get slapped by Newcastle. So, you know, could be better, could be worse.
It's a funny one because I feel like, you know, if those fixtures were reversed, it would have been ideal. You know, you lose the Carabao before the window ends or whatever, and you can go out and spend your bread on deadline day. You know, similar to the 8-2, because I think the 5-1, we scored 5 open play goals, where you just set piece goals, all of this stuff. Where you set piece goals now. When you're playing against probably what is the most porous team on the transition this season in Man City, and I think I'm fair in saying that, it kind of, you know, shows the levels, because I think look at the Spurs match when I think Spurs have slapped them, you know, packed them 4 in the Carabao Cup, I believe, as well. Beforehand, and then, you know, you just look at the run of form that they have been on, even though I think they've been slightly better in 2025, but, you know, going life and death with Club Brugge and all of this stuff, right? That's not really a game you look and you take stock in, because of how they've been, and I think Newcastle, it was almost like a big slap down to reality, you know, because the problems that Arsenal haven't gone away. You know, I think the Newcastle fixture is one that's, I think, very endemic of Arsenal, and, you know, the direction of travel, if you'd say it like that, right? I think, you know, last season at home, we did really well in the home game. I think we caught them at a good time. When we were feeling, you know, at our highest, they weren't necessarily in the best of form. But, you know, I think back to the game at St. James's Park and the games that we've played against them in recent times, where I think they put the stat up, we've not scored in 6 of the last 8 times we've played against Newcastle. So I was very disappointed in the St. James's Park fixture in the league, because I felt that was just far too similar to the previous fixture at St. James's Park, where you know what Newcastle are going to do. I think Eddie Howe has been, you know, he's not had to change his tactics, not had to change his team talk. He's not had to do anything differently to play Arsenal, really, even though they sat with a back 5 today, but 100% you knew what they were going to try and do in the match. And we've just had no answers, you know. We've just had nothing to really move their centre-backs around. I think this is probably the easiest game that these lot play every season, defensively, where the goalkeeper, Dubravka, doesn't feel under pressure. It could have been anyone. It could have been Nick Pope in goal for them today. It could have been, I don't know, Jason Steele or whoever they've had there in previous years. And we could have played for another 90 minutes. We never would have scored, you know. And the way that we played today was really quite disappointing. I know people are like, oh, it's the Carabao Cup, who cares anyways? But I'm sorry, the manager cared. The manager really cared. He put out a strong team in both legs. You know, that's our first team that's come out and played. And then, I've just forgotten, we've lost Martinelli to injury as well. So, you know, it's not just the L we have to contend with. It's now an even smaller squad following the end of the transfer window. And yeah, I'm ranting a bit here, Khalil. Yeah, I'm ranting a bit, but I'll just finish up on this, that on the injury. It's just that it is so predictable that one of our forwards would get injured. It is so predictable, because you're not really rotating these guys, because there's no one to rotate with that you trust. And they're banging out. Like, so Martinelli in the month of January has featured and played in all of our games, number one, and I think he started the majority. That includes 120 minutes and extra time against United in the FA Cup. You've now played and started 3 games in a week, again, with the wingers in our team who do the most sprints up and down, defensive work, this, that, and the other, right? So, yeah, for me, we can go into the lineup. I thought Waneri 100% should have started this match on the right. You're talking about how Newcastle are going to set up. You need your guys on the extremities of the pitch, really able to cause damage 1v1, because otherwise we're not going to move that defense around. You know, we know what Martinelli does on the right-hand side, gets it on his right foot, crosses the ball in. That is not the game plan for this match. You know, so I think from the outset, the manager got that wrong. Whether he wanted to start Trossard or Martinelli on the left, I don't really mind. I don't think it makes that much of a difference these days, other than if you're really trying to stretch. And when I saw Trippier starting there, I was thinking, yeah, you put Martinelli on his side. This guy's what, like 34 years old. You know, let's see if he can get some joy there. Didn't do that. Martinelli goes down. We end up with Waneri on the right anyways. And I think he was probably the brightest player today, if there's one you're going to call out. So we are where we are. But yeah, Khalil, I'll stop ranting now. That was almost 7 minutes of me just talking. Yeah, so you know, just let me know where.
I gotta get off your chest.
Let me know where your head's at right now.
I mean, I think you sum up a lot of the emotions that I feel and a lot of the fan base are probably feeling. It's sort of the perfect storm of events that have occurred post transfer deadline, where you're already short, you're expecting there to be some involvement in the market to make up for the fact that we're extremely short, and the minute the window closes, you have a key injury within 2 games of the window shutting, or I think 1 game technically, because I think deadline day was after the City game, right? So yeah, Martinelli going down. However you feel about him as a winger or how effective he is or not, the fact is we're already so short of bodies that losing more bodies is never ever a good thing. So yeah, this Dubai trip, it better be like a pilgrimage to like a fountain of health and youth or something, because I don't see how 10 days in Dubai is really going to be the difference maker for the rest of the season. But in regards to tonight's game, a very disappointing performance, especially coming off the back of the City game. If we look at the lineup, I understand why Arteta felt it was straightforward to go with a similar, well, the same front line. But as you hinted, having someone of Waneri's quality starting in a game like that, to me, was very important, because you're already at a deficit. You need to create as much sort of opportunity or margin of error for yourself in order to chase down a lead. And you're going away to St. James's Park. You know the crowd are going to be up for it. You know they're going to be pressed for the front. It's going to be high energy. So the level of control that you may expect to gain in most games that we play, you're probably not going to be able to do that at St. James's Park. And we've seen previously for us and other teams, it's not that straightforward to go to St. James's Park and be able to control the tempo, dominate them physically. So knowing all that, you need players or a player who is able to create spontaneously for themselves and have the ability to, shoot from distance, because you're going to need deadlock breakers. You're going to need, you're not going to be able to sort of create high quality chances repeatedly. You're going to have half chances. And as we've seen repeatedly over numerous years now, we definitely have peaks and dips in our attacking performance. And we saw today with the Odegaard chance, that was really where the fixture, the door slammed shut, because if he scores, it's 2-1 and the game is very much on. But he does not score. Newcastle, like a minute later, it wasn't that long. A minute later, they go down the other side of the pitch and they score. And that is the ultimate difference. And we saw that in the first leg as well. Chance after chance, clear-cut chances even, went begging, and Newcastle made the most of their transitions and they scored. And again, referencing the transfer window, referencing how this game went, we seem to always come back at the same conclusion, which is our attacking performance over the course of the season. There's too many weak points, or there's too many, critical moments that we do not convert, or we're unable to create, or when we do create, we don't convert. And that is a story of where our season has come unstuck last season and this season. And it's especially pertinent in the cup games, because in cup games, there's not a next week to recover, you can't bounce back. You'd either win that day and you're out, or you're out. And we seem to have not been able to strike that balance since we won the FA Cup, 4 or 5 years ago now. So yeah, overwhelming feelings of frustration. I think, as I said already, Newcastle dominated us with energy and physicality. And they set up similarly in a few games against us, where it's an aggressive mid-block, I would say, and we just don't have answers for it. We really struggled to play out from the back. We were nervy, we were slow, we were sloppy, and then even when we did manage to get it to final thirds, we could not sustain pressure long enough in order to really, put them under stress or create opportunities for ourselves, which is why I was referencing someone like Wanyeri playing, because if you're not able to sustain pressure, maybe you can create a bit of magic. But again, that's not necessarily a matter of it being sustainable. It's just more so playing towards, or, playing in a way that, the game state demands. We're down by 2, we're down by 3. We need something to happen, and we're not able to sustain that. I feel sort of bad highlighting performances, but yeah, Saliba, very bad day at the office, but a rare one. He came up against, he and Gabriel came up against a world-class striker, which we do not have in Alexander Isak. His movement for, was it the second goal? But yeah, just that top level quality that we don't have. And Gordon, who was a live wire as well, very much struggled. Raya, very poor mistake for the third goal. The second goal, but third on aggregate. No, second goal overall. Yeah. The one where he passed it to Rice. Absolutely no need for that. Especially in the game state that you're in. It was just so poor. Declan Rice, not a good game either. Martin Odegaard, already referenced that big chance. You got to take that chance. And when we didn't, the writing was on the wall. And when Arteta brought on Sterling and Merino, that was effectively waving the white flag. And yeah, I don't know who we've got next in the league. Leicester away, because we played them at home already. Leicester away. But boy, there's going to have to be a whole lot of luck if we're going to come out of this season with a trophy. Because, yeah, between our downsized squad and the issues that already existed in our squad in relation to our front line, you are asking a lot of our current players to not only catch up to Liverpool, but B, there's going to be the expectation that we go to Anfield towards the end of the season and pick up 3 points. And I can't see that happening, if I'm being real. And then Champions League, we were chatting in the group about how we stack up against other Champions League teams, but more specifically the teams that set up in a way that causes problems. Milan, we could run into Conceição again. We saw how those Porto games went last season. They were a nasty watch. We really struggled. Do we have the answers to, get past a mid-block in the Champions League against opposition wingers who, potentially have more individual quality than ours? It's a very big ask, and it's very frustrating because we feel as if we should be beyond some of the issues that we're now discussing.
Yeah, I think there's an important point to discuss here, really, on this match, and it is one that we were sort of chatting through in the WhatsApp group. Dr. Leroy put it on the TL. It's basically like, right, he thinks that Newcastle have got this elite physicality that means that and obviously efficiency up top as well, right? That means that they can sort of withstand any kind of second balls. They can make it into a basic, like a physical game, right? Try and win the second balls, go up the other end and take their chances. And the opposing view is that, well, you know, if you look at how the games have actually gone, we've had a lot of the ball in both of these games, created chances, a lot more chances in the first leg, weren't able to put them away. And in the second leg, we didn't really create too much. And I think some of the games against Newcastle, we've not created that much either, really, across the two legs. And I think it is a bit of both from my perspective. I do think it is a bit of both because ultimately.
But let me push back on that real quick, because when you're playing the best teams, right, you're not I'm not expecting anyway, to be able to control, you know, the game state. I'm not necessarily expecting to dominate duels because you're coming up against players of similar levels, of similar execution. So then it comes down to when you have your moments to, you know, capitalize on goal scoring opportunities, are you capitalizing? And consistently against Newcastle, we have not been able to. And I appreciate, you know, yes, Newcastle are a very physical team. We all know, you know, when you go to St. James's Park and you're running against Tonali, Bruno G, and Joe Linton, yeah, of course it's going to be a battle. But I'd argue that most teams, we saw Liverpool go there and draw 3-3. Like, you're not expected to go to St. James's and dominate physically. So this is why I push back on the notion that you know, Newcastle's physical dominance is the reason why we were able to win, because we still created opportunities, we just didn't take them. And this is, to me, this is far more frustrating than the other reasons why we didn't play well, which is the physical domination. And it's more pertinent to me because if we look at other scenarios where we've come against mid-block teams, we've had similar issues where we don't necessarily control. I mean, we were able to control the game, but are we creating enough? And if we do create enough, are we taking opportunities? And for me, that's the bigger thing. We saw Havertz miss a 2-yard header in the first leg. He scores that, you know, it's 1-1. We score another one, our gilt edge chances is 2-1. We're not then talking about the fact that Newcastle are a physically dominant team. So this is why I understand it, but I reject it as the most sort of pertinent reason as to why we didn't stack up well against Newcastle in these games. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I think it is a bit of both because I think Newcastle especially give us a bit more pain than maybe other teams that we see. So even your games like Aston Villa, I think are very similar. That, you know, we actually create a bit more against Villa than we do against Newcastle. But
we ain't scored against Newcastle this season.
Yeah, it's a similar pattern for me that these teams we saw in the Champions League last year, but Bayern had a very solid mid-block. I've mentioned Aston Villa, Porto as well, and I think we definitely lack a lot of what I would say guile in those tight areas, right, in those tight spaces, and I think that is really where we come unstuck against these teams. I do think Newcastle get more joy than say other teams because of their physicality and obviously because of the potency and threat that they do have at the top end. You know, Murphy, Gordon, Isak, obviously 3 very, very pacey attackers who can cause anyone, you know, a bad day. So when you are pressed up high, trying to play them in their half, those guys are always going to be dangerous. And then, you know, someone with the finishing ability of Isak, you know, the 2 finishes today that he tried, first one offside, emphatic, second one off his weaker foot, probably even almost an even better finish. There,
that was a bad boy,
right?
Bad boy, yeah,
you can't put a price on quality like that, right? But my issue is we're 1-0 down now in this tie. We're 2-0, 3-0 down in this tie. What are we doing to move their players around? What are we doing to, you know, pick those holes? Like for me, I see a team sheet with Kieran Trippier who's looked past it for probably over 18 months, right? With Fabian Schär, who, if you go on any Newcastle fans TL, has been playing dreadfully for weeks. Sven Botman, who I think is a good player. Dan Burn turns like a bus, right? And Lewis Hall, who I think is a good little player, but I don't think he's the sharpest defensively. I'm looking at that and saying, yeah, you know, that's a defense we can really, really do some damage. I see no Joe Linton playing today. They're playing two men in midfield. And obviously, I think Fabian Schär was sort of following Rice up and down the pitch, stepping out of that back five. And I'm saying, like, look, guys, like, we should really be trying to damage these lot. And Martin Dubravka in goal, not the best goalkeeper by any means. So, you know, for me, I get very disappointed when we come out of these games and I feel like the defense has not even really been worked. You know, the goalkeeper is not, you know, leaving as the man of the match. And that happens so often, right? Where Khalil, I don't know if you remember that under Wenger, even Unai Emery at times, you know, there'll be times where it's like, oh, the goalkeeper's had a worldie today, and then, you know, we're unlucky. You know, they done that under Arteta. That just doesn't happen. It does not happen. It really does not happen. There's no, and I feel like since the 22-23 season, you know, I think there was a couple of games where you're like, yeah, the keeper's done a mazine here. You know, the keeper's really working. I remember some games against Leicester where keeper was moving mad. You know, we just won that 1-0. I think there was a game against Everton. Jordan Pickford was doing a lot as well. But since that season, it doesn't really happen. Like, we're not really putting teams under serious pressure, putting them under serious duress. Like, I remember in that season, 22-23, Liverpool game, the Man United game, you know, there were so many games at home where
sustained pressure, all the goal is coming. Yeah.
Bournemouth, right? We're 2-0 down or whatever it is, yeah. And it's like, boom, those lot, they couldn't breathe. Brentford away, you know, opening minutes, the guys on the bench all looking at each other, shaking their heads like, wow, you know, what are we going to do here today? That we have teams camped in and fearful for their lives because they feel like we're going to score at any given moment. This is not the feeling I get with this team. And yes, the City result was fantastic. And, you know, the team is actually not on a bad run of form in the league. But fundamentally, let's not kid ourselves that there's a serious problem here when it comes to how creative we are, how threatening we are, right? And I think it's just shown the most in these games against Newcastle, where the manager comes with a plan to set up shop and stop us from playing. And it's really frustrating to me because I can tell that Arteta wanted to win this match, you know, and that's the best he can do. It's poor.
And the other thing I want to point out is we're at the point in time in the squad's development where it really is 2 or 3 games in the season that actually decide the outcome. Because what will happen and has happened is we've just seen the FA Cup game where we lost. We've seen the first leg Newcastle game that we lost. That's 2 trophies. That's 2 opportunities to win that are off the table. And we saw how those games went. Gilt-edged chances, we didn't convert. Or in this game, for example, we didn't have the ingenuity to be able to score something out of nothing. We could go on a run where we win the next 6 games or whatever, or we have a good end to the season. And people turn around and say, well, actually, if you look at our attacking performance, it's actually all right. You know, we scored X amount. It's like the 91 goals from last season. We scored 91 goals last season. Why are you moaning about our attack? And again, we'll point back to these events where over the course of 2 weeks, we got knocked out of 2 major, 2 trophies that were there to win because we lacked that definitive or game-changing ability. And even below that, we just lacked a basic finisher. You don't have to be Isak in every situation. Like, we really lack guys who can comfortably put the ball in the net, off half chances. And yeah, just adding in that, like, we've been here for seasons now lamenting the same thing, and people allow themselves, or they trick themselves into believing that, our attacking performance is fine because over the course of the season we'll score, 80 goals or whatever. But when it really counts, when it's, a cup competition, you need to be able to make those moments count, and we haven't. And that's the thing that stops you from winning. Right? We know we're a good team, but there's a difference between a good team and a team that wins. And it's a lot easier to go from a crap team to a good team than it is to go from a good team to a team that wins. And we're still missing, unfortunately, these moments. And I assume we're going to talk more about the transfer window, what this possibly means for our summer as well, because it seems as if we're going to go into, is this the fourth summer? No, the fourth transfer window now, where we're debating what our strike options or wing options are going to be. Like, even as recently as today, we're reading about Nico Williams being target number one, and maybe we'll need to sell before we buy. And it's like, what's going on here? Is Nico Williams alone going to be the difference between us not winning the league and winning the league? Are we going to go and chase Isak and potentially put a bid in, or not put a bid in, or and R about is 130 million? Like, we need to be definitive and strong and decisive on how we go into the market. But based on what we've seen so far, there's a lot to question whether
I'm sorry, the club is full of shit, man.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. All of this briefings that we're getting from journos, I don't know, The Athletic or whoever,
Shout out Sammy Mockwell, though. He's been on the pod before. Shit.
Yeah. I'm not even hating on these journos or anything like that. I'm sorry, like, I just think it's a crock of shit, man. It's bollocks.
It's always the promise of tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow we're going to do something and it's going to be worth it. And then tomorrow comes, it's like, actually, we can't do it, actually, but, next time. It's like, how many next times there are going to be before this team actually
it's actual nonsense, and it's proper nonsense. I'm sorry, like, they talk about keep their powder dry, this, that, and the other.
We're monitoring, we're observing.
You're saying so my thing is, like, why is it that there's one name that we need to secure? One name, fine. We saw what Isak is on today. We saw what he's on. If you're saying buying any other attacker, so say, for instance, you have decided striker is Isak. We're going to do everything we can to sign Isak. Does that now mean we're not going to buy a winger?
I mean, that's what it seems like. This is what they seem to be briefing, and I don't get that.
I don't understand. I don't understand that, if that's the case.
What were they saying? They were saying that they didn't want to go up to what Villa's valuation was because they didn't want to stop themselves from conducting business in the summer. And all I'm thinking is, surely a big club has the capabilities to sign an Ollie Watkins and then still go out in the summer and sign one or two. Why is it always one or the other?
Because for me, Khalil, right? If you're saying 40 million, 45 million for Ollie Watkins, is the valuation you're able to go up to, does that mean you still go after Isak in the summer? So therefore that extra 15 M's, that Villa said that they'll do the deal for, if you believe the reporting, that now blocks you spending 130 million, apparently, Khalil. How does that make sense? That doesn't compute to me.
It's bullshit, man.
They talk about Nico Williams. They want to sign Nico Williams. You might need a big exit. How about you sell this guy who's on 275k per week, that has now stopped you from signing a proper centre midfielder, stopped you from signing a proper striker.
It is funny to me how a lot of these briefings, they stress upon how Arsenal want to do like prudent business and they don't want to.
I don't understand. Like risk. A club, Khalil, a club who is trying to be prudent, financially smart, does not go out and make investments on managerial ego targets like Kai Havertz. It doesn't make sense. It says, "Oh, everything we're doing is meticulous. Everything we're doing is this." You don't go out and sign Mikel Merino, who the data does not say is a worldie, right? You don't go and sign a left back who has got an injury record as long as my arm, and that's not even the fact that I'm not a fan of the player. I think he's a good player, Calafiori. Yeah, but it's just like nothing. The actions are not matching up with the words. Yeah,
definitely.
Like you are saying that you want to do, and be this meticulous approach. You want to complete the squad. You want to do this, that, and the other. Blah, 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 blah. But yet you're going into seasons, leaving the club short and taking massive risks on certain players, certain individuals. Yeah, everything that's happened this season, in terms, people can say luck, PGMOL, this and the other. Yeah, but in terms of the squad management and injuries, I'm sorry, everything that has happened this season has been entirely predictable. Entirely predictable.
Absolutely.
Right. Whether you want to say, yeah, it's an impact injury that Odegaard got, fine, but it could have been a muscle injury. It really could have easily been a muscle injury. The amount of sprints that this guy does, the amount of games that this guy plays, the amount of minutes that he puts into his legs, and the amount of football that he's played over the past 2 years, right? Bukayo Saka, predictable. Tomiyasu, predictable. Calafiori, predictable.
Ben White.
Gabriel Jesus, predictable. So you in the past year, the club gave Tomiyasu a new contract. Insanity, right? The only thing that's been unpredictable, actually, Khalil, is Thomas Partey staying fit.
Contract year.
and imagine, right, Khalil, if Partey had been his usual injury-prone self as well this season, what the hell would we have done?
Yeah, I think so. I want to touch upon like the three aspects of the club that have been debated. So there's ownership, and then there's the sporting director / recruitment team, which I guess can be linked to ownership, and then there's the manager. So I think at the end of this transfer window, naturally, a lot of us were angry about us not being able to recruit and the seemingly evidence that there's financial restrictions at a point where we should be finishing the squad. You've referenced our last summer transfer window, and you've obviously referenced the fact that we did not bring in anyone in January. And it's getting me thinking again about how, the Kroenkes really began to invest, not just when they took over, but when we dropped out of Champions League football. And we know the priority was to come back to Champions League football. Now that we are seemingly a good enough team to be getting Champions League football, there is the question to be asked, do they care about extending or, pushing the boat out enough to go and be winners? And it gets you thinking about when the financials are released every year, there's always a line in there about, the club thanks KSC for their continued support, and there is a goal to return to a self-sustaining model. And when you start seeing, transfer windows that go in the way that they've gone, it does get you thinking, do the ownership really care about winning? It's nice to win, but are they really going to push the boat out to ensure that we're going to give ourselves the absolute best chance to win? Then we get to, the director level, the recruitment team. There are definitely questions to be asked as to the choices we made. You made reference to the Merino signing. We obviously made reference to the Havertz signing and how we had seemingly all the leverage in that deal, but somehow ended up overpaying both on wages and transfer. And then we get into the Nico Williams situation where it's like, is Nico Williams the only winger in the world? Because when you look at all of our transfer links, up until like maybe last week, all we kept on hearing was Nico Williams. And it's like, this guy is good, but surely questions need to be asked if this is the extent of your, recruitment. There are too many good players in this league and across Europe and across the Americas for you to be selling us that Nico Williams is the answer. And then now that I go on to the manager, it gets reported constantly. He has a huge influence in proceedings. He has a huge influence in recruitment. And yeah, fine. A manager having huge influence in recruitment isn't a bad thing. But when you see some of the decisions that have made or have not been made, as much as I'm criticizing the recruitment team, I also have to give some culpability to the manager as well. And it's like, well, if you're anticipating that there's going to be financial restrictions, maybe then there needs to be like a prioritization matrix. Like if you have a suspicion that maybe the club aren't going to push the belt out, are you really going to go and spend 30 mil on a backup keeper? Like what are we going to do this summer? So there's culpability on all levels. I think there's culpability on ownership, where now that they've got their Champions League money, they don't necessarily care about pushing the ball out too much. You got the recruitment team or the director level. We don't have a permanent sporting director. Again, that goes on ownership. That also goes on Edu to a certain extent. It goes on the interim. We don't know what's going to happen there. So again, we need football people in there to be making good reasoned decisions. And then we also have a manager who can have his preferences, but when you've got glaring needs in a squad that haven't been addressed, 3-4 years in, it's not good, and we shouldn't really be in this situation.
Yeah, man. I think that game is a very tough one to take, and I think if you're looking at the window and window's gone in the season, I just think fundamentally you can't let transfer windows pass you by. You really can't let transfer windows pass you by. There's obviously a culmination of factors as to why this has happened to Arsenal in January and in the summer, but I think this just needs to be, I don't know about it needs to be a lesson learned, because this shouldn't happen for me. I'm sorry, like you don't go in to a season where you've had
a lesson for, though, because that implies that ownership.
I think it's for the institution. Yeah, I think it's for the whole institution, and because for me, it's like the bread is there for me. I think the money is there, right? I don't think we can say the money's not there when, if Nico Williams and Benjamin Sesko didn't reject Arsenal, yeah, and didn't choose to stay at their clubs this summer, they would be Arsenal players, and we wouldn't be talking about money not being there, this, that, and the other, right? So I look at this and say, you can't let seasons fall by the wayside because you couldn't get your first choice target. It's very, very stupid for you to do that, and it should be proven that in terms of how these lot have acted previously, where you couldn't get a Mudryk, you got Trossard. Trossard comes in, he slaps 10 assists in the second half of the season for us, contributes very, very well. Jorginho comes in, plays a key role. Those are pivots from your original targets. So it's not to say that there's only one, and it's been proven that there's not just one player that can help the team out. So I'm looking at this and saying, you've lost two of your attackers. So you thought we were short on numbers already because you don't really trust Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling was actually injured as well. You lost Nwaneri in December as well, right? So you were down to Havertz, Martinelli, Trossard, and Jesus. Jesus goes down. So now you're down to 3 players. Sterling's coming back. Nwaneri's coming back. That's fine. No, it's not fine. It's not fine, because once there's one more injury, you're back to the same situation like we saw today. Like you're leaving the team at maximum stress when you should be trying to reduce that stress, when we still have things to play for. Martinelli has gone down now. That is our only pacey outlet, Khalil. That is a big problem. Whether you think the guy's rubbish or not, we don't have another profile like that. We actually don't, right? We don't have anyone who can stretch, run in behind effectively, consistently, right? Now, going into the second.
You're not feeling Kieran Tierney left wing shifts.
Oh, my goodness. So I'm looking at this because the thing is as well, this is not hindsight, Khalil. This is not hindsight.
I've been right with you since I got to this pod. Like I've been screaming out for this.
I put a tweet out as the window shut saying this is us playing with fire. One game later, just one game. I said Saka and Jesus got injured at a time you're able to rectify it Once the window slams shut, anyone goes down, this is your lot. This is your lot. We were provided a platform and an opportunity to rectify that front line. And this is where we are. So, you know what? I'm fuming if people can't tell. I'm just livid.
The steam rising from your forehead, bro.
You know, I'm fuming. let's go to some listeners' questions, man. Let's go to some listeners' questions because I'm not trying to.
Like, think about it this way. If this was back in 2009, Wenger do a press conference and say Saka coming back is like a new signing. So, you know, well, when Saka comes back in April with a with a surgically repaired hamstring, it'll all be good.
I think we've legitimately just written this season off for no reason, you know. And if you'd actually gone and pushed the boat out, this could have been a fantastic season for us. Like, if you think about how this has gone, if you go and sign a serious forward, we could like fundamentally look at how well the Champions League has gone for us, right? The teams that are still in that,
it's there to be won.
The opportunity that is there, right?
There's no clear-cut number one team to go on and win it.
You look at the opportunity that's been there. Yeah, and I say look at the opportunity that's been there in the league. Yeah, Liverpool have been really, really good. Yeah, but you sign a serious attacker, we are right up there with them. We literally are. You know, for whatever people want to say about PGMOL and all of this, PGMOL weren't involved in the game at Aston Villa. You know, PGMOL weren't involved in the game Everton at home. PGMOL weren't involved in the Fulham draw, you know. So I look at this to say, you go out and you do what is necessary. You don't know how the dice is going to fall, but you put yourself in a position to take advantage of the opportunity. And we have not done that this season, which is what really irritates me, because it reminds me of the Petr Cech summer, where every other team fell by the wayside. We decided that, oh no, it's fine. It's okay for us to not spend this summer. We'll go again the next year. You know, we've got Alexis Sanchez, we've got Ozil, you know, it's fine. And then you look at the opportunity that arose. It wasn't Arsenal that took advantage. Spurs almost took advantage as well that year, by the way. You know, it was flipping Leicester City winning the league on 81 points. You know, and this is what happens when you think, oh yeah, you know, it's phase X and we can, you know, we can look to phase.
These man think there's a forever window, and I don't get it, because it's like they didn't live through the early.
At the end of this season, Khalil, yeah, at the end of this season, we got 2 years left of Saliba, Saka, I think Martinelli as well, and I think there might be, and then you look at this and say, right, if you're Saliba and Madrid are saying, big man, yeah,
run down your contract. We got
run down your contract.
We got Mbappe waiting for you.
Run down your contract, or they say wait 1 year. Right, don't sign anything at Arsenal. Wait 1 year. We'll grab you in a year's time. Why is Saliba going to sign a new deal? You know, he's looking around and saying, "Well, you man are not serious. You man are not trying to win stuff. I'm trying to go link up with the boys. You know, I'm seeing Lighty Central over there with Jude and Trent and, you know, Militao and all of these man. Yeah, I'm trying to go enjoy as well. You know, so yeah." I think these men
the notion of there being a forever window seems to be something that fans are comfortable with, and it seems like ownership are comfortable with, and I just do not get it. Because if you're not winning and you're seeing your age mates winning, it is only natural for players to wonder. They can believe in the project and they rate Arteta as a manager and all that jazz, but at the end of the day, these players want to win. They don't want to be there in May pulling up XG tables, saying that we're top of XG tables, and, you know, we have the best field tilt and we dominate this, that, and that stat. Like, it's all nice, but at the end of the day, these men play to win. And the longer we go without it, yeah, we've got contracts renewal coming up, and you can't be selling them on the promise of tomorrow when your age mates are winning today. So, yeah, completely agree with you on that one.
Yeah. So let's go to some listeners' questions, man, before we wrap up here. Listeners, I apologize, man. I've just been ranting. I don't know if this is going to be a good listen or not, but yeah, I've just been, my head is kettled. And it's not just because of a Carabao Cup exit. It's just I think this game was so endemic of the issues that we have as a team that, yeah, it's just sent me sent me into a negative spiral, I would say. So Ram, oh no, he's answering Dr. Lee's question. So Nigel Rasta, he says, whose tenure has been worse, Arteta or Tinubu's?
So what do you call it? Tinubu removed the subsidies. Arteta sold Smith Rowe. It's about the same, isn't it? I think I'll give the edge to Arteta only because we used to be baking off in 8th and now we're baking off in 2nd. But yeah, if we don't win a major trophy sometime soon, we're going to be overthrown. We're going to be overthrowing the Emirates. Me and Lee Gunner and who's the other guy? Yardman. We're going to have some serious conversations.
Yeah. I don't think his tenure's been bad, but this season's definitely been bad, man. This season has been diabolical. It's very like the 5-1 was probably one of the few moments of joy that I felt since the last Man City match. Do you know what I mean?
In a while, yeah.
From the season, I feel like the season peaked when that Gabriel header went in the first.
I was floating all my days.
Yeah, and it's so...
we came back from a goal deficit and we were playing well. And everything was going well. Yeah.
I can't imagine, like, if I'll go back to the feeling I was feeling at that time and told you that this is how the rest of the season was going to go, like, I just wouldn't have believed you, I wouldn't have believed you because...
And that was even about Ødegaard as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Insane stuff. So yeah, Morpheus C, he says, is the 2024 summer transfer window the most consequential transfer window since the Petr Cech one? Looks like once again our owners or manager has carelessly tanked our season. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah,
I really do think it is. It's just got so many parallels for me where it's like, what the team needs, you don't do it, and then you pay the maximum price. You really do pay the maximum price. And it's funny because even then, I still had us to win the league because I thought the players that we have would be more than good enough to get it done. I think the Merino injury is the one that I will actually call out and say is bad luck. When he, dislocated his shoulder or whatever. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, it's real bad. It's real bad. Real bad, Michael Jackson. Real bad.
I feel you, man.
I am Mr. Lex. He says, evening, looking forward, since we're Netflix FC now, how do we effectively spend 150 million over the summer? No knowledge on the war chest for the summer, by the way. Listen.
Wait, what was the question again?
He says, looking forward, how do we effectively spend 150 million over the summer? They need to spend more than that. I'm sorry, they need to spend 250.
Yeah. I think someone in the group said we need to spend, was it 300 million? And I was like, yeah, you man are living in cloud cuckoo land because that ain't never happening.
It needs to happen.
Yeah.
But they're keeping the powder dry, Khalil.
Rainy day fun. If we're going off the question, 130 of that 150 million needs to go on Isak. Straight up. Then you can make the rest of the summer work. Beg, borrow, steal, take a loan from Kroenke, take a loan from the bank, take a loan from a loan shark, man. I don't care. Get the Isak deal done, because you cannot continue to promise that we're keeping our powder dry for a bigger fish, and then when the bigger fish comes along, you get cold feet because of the money. Nah, pay that money. And then if you need to sell a player to make another player work, then do that. But I am tired of lamenting our quality in the final third. And I agree, Isak in itself is not enough, but it's very much a start. Show me that you're serious. Show me who you are.
Isak alone might be enough.
Show me who you are.
Isak alone might be enough. I can't lie to you. It might be enough.
Nah, it's not enough still.
If we had Isak this season.
If we had Isak, I'll be expecting a major trophy. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying you look at other clubs and they've got a star forward and they've got another one who can be like, second in command. And yeah, fine, Saka, Isak. If we got a guy on the left wing who can make shit happen, yeah, we're coming for everything.
I'm telling you, Isak and the rest of our forwards is enough.
You think so?
100%. 100%. As long as he plays like 80% of the games.
Yeah, no, I hear you, of course, yeah. Like I said, 130 of the 150 goes on Isak, and then we can worry about the rest later.
For me, right? So like, we need creativity in midfield, and it's the bit that's worrying me is that they're talking about like signing this 18-year-old fella.
Knee pain. I've already got an agenda on the kid as well, so he better, if he comes,
that's even exactly, and that's even if he wants to come, because of his social time and media pressure and
these Gen Z ballers, man.
His 6-point Pro Evo hexagon, that he's going to score each section, like he's, like this is Pro 6, you know what I'm saying? Nonsense.
Man's gonna be doing TikTok celebrations if he scores,
But my thing is that we're not even looking at more creativity, if you get what I mean. Like for me, I think having a forward like Isak, it adds threat 100%. But we also need a bit more guile. Where the through balls at? Where's the
I agree. But if you look at how Arteta is setting up tactically, he basically wants that to come from his fullbacks, like straight up, because we've been raving about MLS for obvious reasons. And part of what appeals to Arteta is the fact that A, he's obviously very good in duels. B, he's defensively switched on in a way that Zinchenko isn't. And he feels as if he can get that ingenuity from the fact that MLS inverts and can carry the ball. He doesn't seem to want that from his actual midfielder, which is a question in itself. So, I mean, I agree. I think there's a limit to how much ingenuity and creativity you can ask from an inverted fullback. And I think MLS can comfortably play further forward. But again, as I said, he doesn't seem to want that from his internal 8, which we have spoken about. And we could very much do with some more. But this is the way Arteta seems to want to go. And it's a bit head-scratching to me as well.
Yeah. And Anton AFC, Uncle Anton with a Zim flag. So this ain't even our Uncle Anton. To be fair, it says, can we consider the season as done? 6 points, potentially 9 behind Liverpool in the league. And with this front line that's barely good enough for EFL, we surely can't be thinking about the Champions League. Boy, I don't think the season's done. I'm going to be here to the end. Yeah. It's going to be very, very difficult, though. That's the simple facts. We've made it an basically impossible task. And I'm really frustrated. And the thing I'll be lying to you about is I said that if we sign no one, I'm basically giving up hope. That was my stance in December. And now it's not even copium running through my veins anymore. It's like copium dust. The copium has all evaporated. Yeah. It's all evaporated and it's just dredges left in my veins, because I feel like teams are going to watch that Newcastle match. That is what the second half of the season is going to look like for us. As teams are fighting for their lives, they're going to come and deploy the nastiest deep blocks you've ever seen. They're all going to be, out to kill us. And it's going to be a very, very difficult task. Very, very difficult task. So I don't have much hope left. Yeah, we're on the last remnants. What are your thoughts on that, Khalil?
Yeah, I mean, to give a basketball analogy, there was a huge trade that went down this weekend where Luka Doncic got traded from the Mavericks to the Lakers, and they were interviewing fans of the Dallas Mavericks outside the stadium. One guy says, maybe I just killed myself, So yeah, that's the tip I'm on, Maybe I just killed myself, because what we doing? If that Watkins deal was the last I had of hope in terms of being able to cut the lead to Liverpool and even go further in the Champions League. But yeah, to not sign anyone is really telling. It's very telling. I think. Yeah, it's very, very, very disappointing. I don't know what else to say. And if you want extra pain, when you consider the extra context of Villa desperate to sell for PSR, and what you're telling us is 55 to 60 million is too much to stretch. Like, with the record revenues that we're bringing in, yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. And the players internalized it because they were giving interviews talk about, I saw Rice even did an interview, I think after, was it the Spurs game, when he was talking about, we're short at the moment. So the players feel it as well. And once the players start to lose sort of faith, belief in, the manager or the upper management, it doesn't bode well for future seasons. So yeah, man. Well, I watch all the games still, but going into them with expectation, I think is definitely capped.
Yeah. Fair. Ribslish, he says, Mikel Merino, discuss. I'll let you open on this. I've just been ranting.
Mickey Marino's your guy, but I mean,
how have we landed here? How have we landed? How do you make it?
Nah, you know what? It's like every game week, I'm always banking on you to say something about Mickey Mouse. So that's what I was going to leave it to you. But yeah, I mean, what else is to be said? Like, he came on, he didn't really do much. The fact that Sterling and Merino came on was our demonstration of the white flag. Tells you everything about that transfer. Because if you're introducing a midfielder that you signed in the summer in a losing situation, you would think that's like a game changer, but it really wasn't. He just came on to give relief to Ødegaard because I guess Arteta didn't want him getting injured or something. And yeah, I mean, that's what I can really say. I don't want to be too mean in it, but yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I think the guy is shit, man. As bad as people think Ødegaard played, Ghost, whatever, like basically anything good that we did came from that side prior to him going off. Merino came on. I don't think I saw Ethan again in the match. I definitely didn't see Merino. The guy is gash. He's rubbish. I'm sorry. He is real bad.
He's a genuine passenger. That's the worst thing.
He comes on in matches and you're just like, oh wow, I forgot he came on. I forgot he was playing. Or you see him and he's miscontrolling the ball, under-hitting passes, over-hitting passes. Like this is a guy who has hit the biggest lick by ending up at a club like Arsenal,
He can't believe his luck.
How has this happened? How has this the guy that you prioritized your summer trying to sign from all of them man that were balling at the Euros as well? The guy, this is one of the worst signings we've made. It genuinely is. He is rubbish. I'm sorry. Steiner Swag, he says, for G Dizzy, German Dan, says, your boy has the technical ability of a toaster. Why do you back him?
I've noticed some of these tactics that German Dan does to avoid the Havertz conversation, If he knows Havertz is dropping his stinker, he'll come in the group and be like, I'm not watching. What's going on? That's how you know that Havertz is stinking, because that's what he came and did today. But yeah, what can we say about Killer Kai that we haven't said already? I understand that we've been hung out to dry with not recruiting a new striker. I understand he's not supposed to be our number 9. I understand that he puts a shift in. I respect the fact that he's an intelligent footballer, as I'm always reminded when he fails to convert. But yeah, part of my issue with Havertz is what I perceive to be the on-ball quality that I think he should have for a player that is considered to be this high-level guy that we don't necessarily get. And yeah, I mean, the Havertz and Isak comparisons are inevitable because of previous history and the recruitment and all that. And if you're going to be a big club, man, you can't be missing, BCMs like this at critical moments in the season. So yeah, we got to stick with him. It's not his fault that he's the only forward available and that he's very durable. But these are all things he used to say about Olivier Giroud. And Olivier Giroud got pelters from the fan base for many of the reasons that Havertz is being praised for. So yeah, catch-22. I don't want to be too harsh on him, but fundamentally, for the level of investment, you need more. And yeah, I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah, the next two questions are on Havertz as well, right? So Crypto King 9323. I don't know if he meant to tweet us off his crypto burner or not, but it is what it is.
King, okay.
He says, how badly has a Havertz signing destabilized the project? And the other one from Count Draxula, he says, I'm being 100% when I say Nwaneri is a better striker than Kai Havertz. When Saka is back, I'd be tempted to run Trossard, Nwaneri, Saka front three. Do you guys agree?
So on a serious level, I'm gonna make reference to what I said before about Watkins and apply it to Havertz, where Havertz was a big summer money invested. I never would have invested that level of money. However, if you are seriously a big club, a 65 million signing should not be the be all and end all of your forward signings. That should be an addition to whatever else you're planning. So as much as I dislike the signing, I dislike the level of investment, I dislike the wages, I'm not a fan of his technical ability and all that. Just because we spent 65 million on him, we shouldn't still be in a situation where he is our only forward. We are too rich of a club to be, pulling the poverty card at this stage. In relation to the Nwaneri question, I understand why people feel as if he can develop into a striker. I think it is a ridiculous ask of him to be playing as a central striker in this particular system. With the amount of responsibilities Arteta demands, you're just basically, at this stage of his development, have him on the wings. I would either have him in midfield before I even have him up front. And yeah, is he a better striker with the ball than Havertz? Absolutely. That's not a question. He's got a USP. He's got that, curling finish. He can strike with his right foot if need be. So yeah, you won't hear me disagree on that. But yeah, the overall point about Havertz, as much as I dislike the signing, the amount we paid for, his qualities on the ball that are very questionable, we should not be in a situation still where we're referencing that as like our third biggest signing. There should have been other levels of investment.
Yeah, I don't think, like for me, right? I agree with your point around signing Havertz shouldn't stop you from signing other players. Yeah, I don't think that is wrong. My issue is, right, we end up spending money replacing guys that the managers bought.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
no, I hear you.
Which is an issue for me, right? Like it annoys me because it's like you didn't need this signing. This is like, if you get what I'm saying, like, right, if you say we're replacing Xhaka, right? Everyone and their mum, had a vision of what that looks like. You get another centre mid who's like a Bruno G type. You're 6'8", who can control games, high volume passer, creative from deep, that kind of thing. Deep line and playmaker, who's comfy on the ball, maybe with a bit more agility than what someone like Xhaka brings. Or people said they want the 8'10", who is very much like your creative hub. You can play it into them. They can give you a bit more forward thrust than what Xhaka gives you in that position. Instead, we've signed a guy who's neither.
I know people talk about what we want doesn't necessarily mean the manager wants the same thing. And I can hear that if what the manager wants leads us to success overall. What me and you fear is the route that the manager took isn't going to lead us to success. So it's not even just a matter of stylistic choice. It's the tactical choices that have been made we feel aren't going to lead us to the promised land. And that's a bigger issue. I would firm it if I truly believed it would get us to the promised land, but I don't believe that. So it's just a bigger thing than it being, a fan demand over a manager demand. So yeah, just wanted to add that in there.
Sorry, not good at all. Not good at all. So yeah, one last question here. There's a few more actually. I think we've answered this. So Angela Yee, she says, out of the cups, Champions League is a long shot. League is done. Guard of Honor at Anfield. Can this season be considered a success in any way? If not, who? If not, who bears the brunt of the blame, the board or the manager? I'll let you answer this one.
Season cannot be a success if we're not lifting anything, fundamentally. In terms of what would be success? Oh, blame, right. So last summer, the transfer window we had happened, and we've obviously had this transfer window that we didn't do anything. So if I'm putting blame, I'd probably say about 40% on the board is what I would say. And then I'd put maybe 30% on the recruitment team, but I guess the recruitment team can be looped in with the board as well. And that takes us to 70, and another 30% is the manager, because we know the manager, from what has been reported, has a huge say in recruitment. So even though we're lamenting who we haven't brought in, we are looking at guys who we have recruited, and we can see, or we can evaluate them and say that, hang on, have they been the right choices for us? And on some of them they have been, but some of them you can definitely question the wisdom. And then if we get on to the on-the-pitch performance, yes, we have had injuries and we've had PGMOL, but there are definitely been games where we come away from them disappointed that we've been able to create enough opportunities against a mid-block, for example, or B, they haven't resulted in us picking up the points that we needed to, and we're missing gilt egg chances because the managers put faith in players who aren't up to scratch. So yeah, 40% to the board, another 30%-ish to our recruitment team, and then another 30% to the manager. That's even with considering the PGMOL issues and, the injury issues. I think no one expected us to be in this position. But at the same time, when you look at our recruitment and whatnot, it's not surprising that we're in this position at the same time. Another question. Let's see. So we've got another question here. Suster. I'm all for #black privilege, but can you lot explain why you have more disdain for Havertz than our captain, Martin Odegaard, or vice captain Jesus, who's older, more experienced, on the same wages, and let Havertz snatch his chain in the first place? Well, thank you for tuning in, Suster. If you know me at all, you know that I was the lead creator of the Gabriel Jesus is Bolivian, not Brazilian movement. I have retired that movement purely because he has done his ACL, and I don't feel it's appropriate to further drill home the point that he wasn't getting it done. In terms of disdain for Odegaard, I think it's fair to say that Odegaard has a very poor season, in my opinion. I know some of the other TG members may disagree. I've always felt that Saka has been our best player, and Saka's injury has further illuminated the point of him being our most important player and our best player. And yeah, I mean, there are critiques of his game that we have debated in terms of, you know, his reliance on certain angles and his reluctancy to use his right foot, in terms of how he has not been able to maintain that sort of high pass completion balance, as well as being a penetrative creator. These are all things that I've been happy to say about Odegaard. So I wouldn't say that we have more disdain. I think there's also the valid point, which is Odegaard has had multiple good seasons in a way that someone like Kai Havertz has not. And with Kai Havertz, you can simultaneously argue that he has received a lot of support from the fan base. And even in scenarios that we're in currently, you know, you see a lot of fan sentiment telling us to get behind Havertz, and Havertz's goal scoring record is decent, is comparable and all that. So I would not necessarily agree that we have, you know, irrational more disdain for Havertz than we do for Odegaard or Jesus for the reasons I've outlined. I think it's just a case of, one, Jesus is now finished, so there's no point even discussing him anymore. And two, Odegaard, while he has been disappointing, we have a catalogue that we can point to of good performances that we can't really do with Havertz. So yeah, coming on that, Dan.
Yeah, I think just Havertz is by far the worst player of the three. Like, he's abysmal. He's just terrible.
I spent all that time trying to be diplomatic, but you just came in and said he's ass.
He's not good. He's just not good. Like today, games like today, it's just so frustrating. Like, and it's so annoying. Like people say, "Oh yeah, look at the goals he scored." I think if
he's very coddled. I think that's the way I look at it. I think he's very coddled in a way that other players are not.
Yeah, if someone could tell me one goal that Kai Havertz has scored where it's like, you're like, wow, another striker wouldn't have scored that. Do you get what I mean? Like someone with more technical ability. Like look at the goals he scores. They're like you feel like they're just normal goals. They're normal goals. There's nothing.
I've already said if Havertz was black, he would not have a cohort of guys on tactical Twitter who would just be going around telling us how brilliant he is in all contexts. Like he just wouldn't happen, just straight up. Because the amount of times you'll see like Havertz miss a big chance and it's like, oh, well, look how he got into that position and look how intelligent he was with the movement and this, that, and the other. Like, have you ever heard a Lukaku performance described as good when he's missed crazy chances? You won't hear anyone say, oh, Lukaku got into good position, so it's overall good performance. No. You say that the guy has Timberlands on his soul and he's got Timberlands on his head and he's got the touch, you know, of a bricklayer. You don't hear any of this. You don't hear any of this nuance in defense. But because he's got the reputation of being Havertz, it's like, oh, you know, you got to look past the BCMs. You got to look past the wonky first touch. You got to look past his inability to, you know, dribble and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's very frustrating to me because obviously, like, I think as a team, we're not in the best place in chance creation from open play, this, that, and the other. So I think it is a real big issue not having a clinical striker. Like we could definitely create more chances for him. He probably would score more, but I think he's part of the reason why, you know, if not one of the main reasons why I think we lack creativity from that central zone, especially. I think you look at today as an example, teams are blocking up the middle, right? They're really making it difficult for you to block up the middle. What you need is a striker who's really technically secure back to goal. Can you bring someone into play? When, you know, there's pressure on your back? He's not able to do that. The ball comes into him, it bounces back, and you know, the Newcastle, to Dr. Leroy's point, they've got the physicality to get themselves up the pitch, win the second balls, etc. Like there's so many times in the game where the ball comes to Havertz and it just dies. You know, it just dies. And it's not because, oh, the defender did good work. It's just rubbish. Like how many times today did he just fall on the floor? You know, just falling over. And that happens and people go, oh, Havertz is tired. He's tired. He's fatigued. Like Martinelli and Trossard are not also playing these same minutes, you know, in this period. They don't. No other player gets this excuse. No other player like gets this. Oh, he's tired. He's fatigued. This that, and the other. But when he's good, oh yeah, class, unbelievable, really good. And this is not me saying, oh, the guy never plays well for us. He's not coming clutch, etc. This that, and the other. But fundamentally, he's just not that good. He just is not that good, and it's a big issue.
It is.
So yeah. Anyways, guys.
I hope Arteta is happy because James NUFC is now my mentions gloating. So I hope Arteta knows this is what he's caused. The one troll, you've given him life. So I hope you're happy.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, this has been Touchline Gunners. Khalil, thanks for joining me. Listeners, I'm sorry we didn't really find the green shoots of recovery here for you. This was kind of just a venting session.
Life ain't worth living no more, man.
German Dan, I think he went to go play PlayStation. Or something halfway through this, halfway through the game. You know, he weren't really active in the group. I know he's not going to be active for the rest of the week. Is what it is, man. Is what it is. Anyways, we'll catch you guys. We'll catch you guys soon. Right? We've got 10 days off. Dubai break. Maybe I should book a Dubai break for myself, man. Detox from this team, this toxic UK. I think Khalil's going to be doing something like that.
Don't be putting my business out in these streets, man. I'm going to be out. I'm going to be out working every day.
I didn't say where you were going. Khalil's looking to catch flights and feelings. Yeah, so it's cool. Anyways, guys, yeah, we'll catch you guys soon, right? Take it easy. Peace.
Yo, when I spit bars in the rain, man, I go hard.